There are no attendees listed yet. Sue, did you get an email for this? I mean, obviously you did because you got in, but
I did, and I got an email and a text, and I saw Christina last week. So
we were just saying that some of us didn't get a second email today about from the automated system that sends out the
oh, I don't know actually.
I actually didn't get the first email either. And what, you got a text from who, Sue?
It's from Christina wanting to know if I was gonna go because I hadn't responded. And I had to do, I saw her for a minute the other day, so.
Yeah, it still isn't showing anything in my email.
That's weird.
So we're just hoping that everyone is able to get in here that needs to get in here today. Oh, here's an attendee.
Oh.
And we did talk about it, right? We've set this date last time we were together.
So, you know, when you have a regular routine, people come to depend on it. And if it doesn't happen, then people don't know what's going on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's just some automated system glitch, probably. I don't know.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
New Year.
Is it happy yet?
No, almost.
Should we just go New Year?
It's becoming hard to stay healthy, at least in my house. So.
Oh, no, I get you.
Well, it's 7:03. We have a quorum. I don't know if we should go ahead and start.
I'll just send a couple more texts to people just to prompt them. I'll
Okay.
let you know if I hear something back.
Should we give it another minute?
Sure.
And were there any other conflicts tonight? Were no library, no selectmen?
Sarah, I just want to thank you for doing such a great job doing those minutes every week.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I was reading over it and it's a lot of detail.
It is a lot of detail.
I try to get it all down, but sometimes my brain, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of something to say, but I need to write at the same time.
You do a great job.
I wanted to thank Sarah too for her Castle for her really stand-up job in front of the advisory committee.
Yeah,
I thought you
it was
really
great.
did
Yeah.
a fabulous job promoting our cause and defending our needs, and I just was really impressed. So, and you've grown so much in the past couple of years. You should feel really good about that.
You are very good at that. Very, very good at it.
Thank
There were some
you.
tough questions, I thought.
Well, why don't we go ahead and start the meeting?
Okay.
Sue joined us or is
Yeah.
in the process of joining it. Susan Byer is in the process of joining us. And so I called this meeting of the Southborough Youth Commission to order on January 11th, 2022 at 7:05 p.m. So first on the agenda is a review of the minutes. If I didn't have any edits on it, I thought they were really well written.
Yeah.
So I move to accept the minutes of the December 2021 meeting, youth commission meeting.
Second.
All right, not sure if Susan Byer is able to hear us or,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
just trying to figure out how to get my picture on here.
Well, Bob looks good.
I don't know what he's serving up, but that fresh fruit.
I think they're just oranges. That's an old Florida picture from a long time ago.
Well,
Okay.
Susan, can you, do you have a vote for the motion on the table for the minutes?
Yes, aye.
Okay, Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Dombucker,
Aye.
Sarah Micas,
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie, aye. All right, and then director's report, updates and highlights from Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm just trying to navigate to the correct part of my report here because the packet is rather large this time. Oh, that's because I was opening the old one. Sorry. All right, my apologies. Okay, so December feels as though it was a shorter month because we had some vacation that was taken and lots of holidays sort of sprinkled in there. So, we did again offer QPR trainings in the month of December, which was fantastic. We had there seems to be a trend with QPR trainings that they fill up really quickly with people registering, but when the training actually comes around, not everyone that registered shows up. But we did have one training that had 9 people and another one that had 7, which is actually great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Shannon has been working hard on an additional training. Leslie hadn't actually attended as part of what we called sort of a first run through to give Shannon some feedback on the training itself. And that's Listen with Love. Love is an acronym for, I'm not going to get it right, but for a number of skills that are taught in the training on how to basically participate in active listening in your relationships. There's going to be a secondary training to that called Say It With Love, which is how to get your own needs met in a relationship while still preserving that relationship. Not always easy to do. So Shannon did a lot of work in December on both of those things, and we had hoped to debut those in January, but unfortunately, because of the rising number of COVID cases, we've put that on pause for right now. And I'll tell you in a couple minutes a little bit more about what we're doing when I kind of preview the next month. Christina did a fantastic job in December finishing up the Winter Wishes program. We moved up the timeline tremendously this year. We had a first round of gift cards distributed to families before Thanksgiving, which has never happened before. We really wanted to prioritize that because we knew that with inventory shortages and shipping delays and whatnot, that families were going to need that extra time. So we were very appreciative to all the donors who were flexible and understanding with the timeline being moved up so much. And Christina did a fantastic job of coordinating all of that. We also should thank Lisa Purpura, hopefully some of you have had an opportunity to meet her at some point, but she used to work for our department years and years ago, and has continued to volunteer for this program every year. She does some of the most tedious pieces of work, where she has spreadsheets everywhere, and she knows which donors are getting which requests and so on, and helping to put tags together. And so thank you to Lisa again for her contribution to the program again. Let's see, it was hard to identify outreach opportunities in the month of December, given that it was a shorter amount of time that we had, but also harder with COVID, and there's not as many, outdoor activities or really activities at all going on, where groups are gathering. So we continued to look for opportunities, but we didn't have any groups that we met with or whatnot in the month of December. So then that's really it. Nothing new with mental health services except, the number of clients that we've been serving, which is, kind of business as usual. So to highlight the month of January, which we're in now, I will, just to add to what I had said about having to make some changes to our service delivery. So while the office was closed, I had been having some communication with other youth and family service departments saying, should we be continuing with in person? Should we not? And people were kind of making their own decisions. So I went ahead, just because things were so unknown, I went ahead and made a decision for us that the first week when we came back, we were going to pause in-person services. I had learned that the school department had put a pause on any outside people coming into the building. So we knew that we weren't going to be able to go into the schools to see our school age clients. So sort of just following suit of what some of the other departments were doing in town. I knew the senior center had closed, et cetera. So in talking with staff and sort of monitoring the situation, we decided that the first 2 weeks in January, we were going to go remote for all of our services. And then when we get to the week of the 17th, we're going to start welcoming back. Well, I have to consult with the Board of Health on this just to continue to monitor the cases. But if things are starting to look a little better, then we may invite residents to come in to the office for appointments, for in-person appointments. If it's still a little hairy, we may prioritize, just kind of like we did when we were first resuming in-person services. We did a little bit at a time and kind of reserved in-person services for the most critical of needs. And then ultimately the goal would be for us to return to the schools in February. But again, we're kind of monitoring how that goes. So it's a 1 week at a time sort of situation. Shannon is doing some outreach with the senior center. It says potentially online here in the director's report, but that is officially going to be online now. Christina's working on trying to make sure we thank all of our volunteers, our donors, our supporters for the Winter Wishes program. As you are all probably aware, I met with the advisory board on that Wednesday of last week, the 5th. I've also had a chance, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going back to January or to December. Regarding the budget, I had a chance to meet with the town finance team, which consists of the town administrator, the town assessor, the town accountant, and the town treasurer. And then And then I guess another big focus for us right now is every time we have a new calendar year and we're starting to collect data for reporting purposes, it's sort of a new opportunity to collect data. And so we, as you probably remember, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion goal outlined in our strategic plan. And in order for us to know if we are reaching underserved sectors of the community, we need to be doing a better job of collecting demographic data, because we can't know if we've grown in that area without baseline information. So this year for 2022, we are going to start collecting age information, gender, race and ethnicity information, language, language is spoken at home. We have one question about whether someone identifies as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. So just a sort of preview of our hopes for this upcoming year, that we hope to have even more specific data about the people we're reaching in the community as we continue to increase our outreach efforts.
So how can you,
Sure.
how are you going to collect that information? Like,
So
I don't know if I missed what you were saying or
Sure. So all of our it's optional. So somebody who takes a QPR training, for example,
yeah.
Shannon gives them a pre-test and a post-test to sort of measure what they've learned to see if we've reached our objectives with that training. So we're going to add a section that's optional, asking people if they're willing to share their information. It's not tied to them specifically, but it's just sort of generally giving us data to reflect on, are we connecting with certain sectors of the community? Same thing with mental health services. We collect a lot of that information anyway, but sort of formally making sure that we're asking all of those questions about languages spoken at home, et cetera.
So for example, when you go to, I assume that you will do this annually, the parent open house at the schools, would you be able to do that?
Yeah, we talked, actually Shannon and I just talked about this today. She said, so are we going to try to capture this information when we do outreach? And I said,
yeah.
That could be really hard. So I kind of picture outreach as being the vehicle. So we're going to do outreach on an ongoing basis. And then whoever sort of becomes our clients or whoever comes to us to partake in anything we're offering, whether it's a training, whether it's counseling services or need-based services, those are the folks that we're going to be asking this information of. And our outreach efforts will sort of be the mechanism in which we increase our capacity to reach different sectors of the community. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, but would one of the questions maybe be, how did you hear about us? And
That is one of the questions.
Outreach could be one of the answers.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. That is another question. How did you hear about us? Because we are doing so much to reach out to the community through postings, through flyers, through focus groups, so we do want to find out which of our efforts are paying off. So writing myself a note, Beth, about making sure that that's outreach is on there. I lost my page here. And then regarding the strategic plan, I'm sorry to say that we continue, I do, before I say this, I want to say how thankful I am to people who have been helping us with this, specifically the IT director, Jay Montijo, Angela Varner, and the members of the Municipal Technology Committee, and also Claire Reynolds, who has stepped forward as just completely volunteering her own time to help us with this. But we continue to struggle with IT needs. And if you had a chance to watch the advisory meeting, you'll see that that came up again. You know, we're still searching for solutions. Claire Reynolds, as I had mentioned, is has worked with various committees in town and has offered Excel trainings to town employees, and very knowledgeable about databases, and has been trying to build us from scratch a Microsoft Access database, which has been really very helpful. And we hope that it's an option for us. I think the concern that we've heard from other parties is that it's not something that, it's kind of a specialty, and not something that we have the internal capacity to maintain on our own. We would need to continuously rely on somebody else to maintain that. Some of the other options out there are way too big for our needs, and way too big, way too expensive. HIPAA compliance is an issue. So, the saga continues. I had hoped, to put more of my time into some of the other pieces of the strategic planning goals, but I do know that sort of this first goal, which is really foundational, is one that we need to, work on, and then build all the other goals, really kind of build off of it. So it's a worthwhile investment of time. But a lot of different opinions and feedback, and I feel confident we will get there someday. So with regards to the strategic plan, I wish I had more to show for it right now, but we're still having ongoing conversations about what sorts of IT systems the department needs. I don't know if there's any questions about the director's report.
I don't think so. It sounds like we could progress to the budget update. And I don't know if that kind of ties into the advisory committee as well. So maybe I don't know if we need two separate issues, or we could talk about it all together.
Sure. Yeah. So I had, as I said, in December, I had an opportunity to meet with the town finance team. That meeting went well. I just, kind of shared with them what our budget request involved, and that was fine. And then I was asked to attend the advisory meeting last Wednesday. So last Wednesday, yeah. And generally speaking, the meeting went well. There were some questions about, why we might need something. My sense was that they were receptive to it. I do think, Lauren, sort of the reason why there were two separate parts on the agenda was that just if there was any discussion that the board wanted to have about that part of the meeting, and then there was this sort of separate topic that got brought up at the advisory meeting that I don't know that it needs to be parsed out, but.
All right, well, we could cover it separately.
Sure. So I guess a couple of things that were brought up at the advisory meeting was that, if you had an opportunity to listen to it afterward, they are looking at anything and everything because of how tight things are this year. I guess in particular, I had raised the subject of our mileage and said, you know, admittedly, that's more than we need right now. However, if we get back to a place where we can function as we normally do and as we should be, the amount of you know, connecting with the community that we need to be doing, we're likely to get back to that place eventually. So I don't know, you know, how difficult it is to get those funds back should we need them. So I guess I'd turn it to the board then to see if there was any discussion about adjusting the budget request at all, or if you wanted to keep it as it is.
Can you remind us what the
I
mileage was budgeted for? I know it's in here somewhere, but
think it's
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
And in the 2019, when things were normal, it was $1,900. So I think, you know, I think it's reasonable to expect that when things are normal, that's probably a reasonable amount of money, although with gas and everything else, I don't know how expensive mileage is at this point in time, if they've increased the mileage allotment. But I thought it was very reasonable, and the squeeze $200-300 out of that just seems, you know, kind of ineffective at this point in time. I don't know if you don't use the $2,000, then can you go towards other things?
No, it should be, it's earmarked for mileage, so it should be used for mileage.
Yeah.
And if we don't use it, it goes back to the
Yeah.
town.
so if you don't have enough funds in mileage for this year, if you eliminate some of that budget, it would have to come out of the donation account if you or there have to be a request to use the donation account if it continued to increase the mileage.
I don't know the answer to that, because I'm wondering if, given that we're mandated to reimburse employees for mileage, I wonder if we could actually, there's a fund. I've never had to tap into it, so I can't remember what it is, but yes, I think theoretically we could tap into the donation account for that. And I think there's also a reserve fund, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, that the town has should we go over, you know, what we need for any particular line item.
So are you thinking of, I mean, it sounded like they were asking you very seriously to eliminate a few $100s here or there. Is that in the plan then?
I would actually, I'm not making a decision on that on my own. I would want to know, you know, Sarah, you just shared your opinion on it. I guess I would love for the board to weigh in on whether you all want to do that or not.
I'll buy you a bike.
While they, you know, on one hand, they're asking you to shave it down, but on the other hand, they're saying that our department's budget is reasonable. So I'm kind of going more with the reasonable outlook and saying that $2,000 is not really that much. And I think you should just stick with the $2,000.
I agree with Beth. In the whole scheme of
Yeah.
things,
Whole
$200.
scheme of things.
Mhm.
I agree.
If we don't use it, we can always turn it back to the town.
Ooh, Marguerite's here. a black window.
Please, don't use the T word, technology word with me now.
We're glad you're here, Marguerite.
I'm rubbing two sticks together over here to get audio.
I can't say anything.
I guess I'm conflicted a little bit because I could see you, your department perhaps getting away with 1900 this year or 1800.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
I will say this year, we're not going to, we have plenty for this year. It continues to be related to the pandemic that makes it, and the pandemic is the new normal, in which case does the trajectory change in terms of what we're, Zoom is a thing now, and it wasn't. I mean, it was, but not sort of as prolific as it is now. So that changes things, the trajectory moving forward. So I would expect that, our mileage needs will be less than they used to be, but we are not at our full capacity right now because of COVID being sort of as acute as it is. So,
but are you worried that you'll become full capacity by the end of the year? Is that?
Well, it doesn't really.
For the fiscal year?
Yeah, we'd be talking about, this would be for July 1 through June 30th of next year.
Right, okay.
So,
Gosh, I hope we're normal by then, but who
Right.
knows?
right.
I think we need a crystal ball to predict what's going on, but I think we should plan for increased demand because of the toll that the pandemic has taken on our school-age children, and that the demand for intermittent counseling provided by the department is probably going to increase. So I think in that time frame, I'm hoping that things will shift. We don't know. So I think we should plan for the most intensive service load possible, because I think that's where we're heading, or we're already there. But
Sarah's convinced me.
yeah, I just want to make sure that we're well equipped and that we're not grappling for $100 here or there so that you can put gas in your car and drive to Algonquin. I'll pick you up and bring you there.
Me too.
But I think that we're really facing serious mental health issues in our community and in the state and in the country. And I think that we need to be fiscally prepared to meet them as best as possible. So
I agree.
agree.
Yeah.
So is the decision to stick with the $2,000 request for the mileage line item?
Should we have a vote on that for you?
Probably.
All
I
right.
think that would be helpful.
May I have a motion, please? Sarah, was that a motion?
Yes, I move to keep the FY 2023 57100 in-state travel mileage request at $2,000.
A second.
All right. Susan Byer,
Aye.
Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Dombucker,
Aye.
Marguerite Landry,
Aye.
Sarah Micas,
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie, aye. All right, the motion carries.
Lauren, could I just ask if there was anything else budget related that happened as part of the advisory discussion, if anybody had anything else that they picked up from that you want me to have in mind moving forward, or?
I just wanted to say, and Micus was saying this earlier, how great of a job you did in making a case for the services and just presenting all the work that you do. It was very, very understandable and I think well received by everyone too. It's you have a pretty small group of people who does some remarkable services.
Agreed.
Well, you all are part of that, so thank you. I was really, in preparing for that meeting, and I said this in the context of the meeting, but was comparing our 2019 numbers to our 2021 numbers, that the mental health services went up 62%, which I think is a combination of not just the number of people that need help, but also this model that we're in where we have the referral support of interface. We're serving a lot more people this way.
Which is the goal, right? So that you could start working on prevention programs and so.
Yeah. So I thought I was pretty.
I thought that many of the advisory committee members were incredibly supportive and had made a lot of favorable comments about what the department does. And I think that's a big shift in where we were. As they said, I don't know if it was Kathy Cook or someone else, but they had mentioned that, it was a small department. People thought you just ran the Halloween party, but now it's really, and given in light of what's going on in our world right now, I think they see the increasing importance of having an organization like this in the community. So, and you presented everything we did professionally with great knowledge, and I just was really impressed. So you should feel
I have to laugh because I was a nervous wreck for some reason.
You didn't seem like a nervous wreck. No, I really thought I was really impressed.
I'm glad that didn't come across.
And you were playing in my kitchen and everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's doing such a great job. I just really want you to know. I think you've grown into the job and the demands of and responsibilities. So,
and tooting your own horn and tooting the horn of the department, You're great at it.
That's not what I was asking for. Thank you. I just wanted to know if there were any other considerations you wanted.
The one thing that, and I didn't have much more time to go beyond it, but I know one of the members was concerned about the underpinnings of therapy notes and.
Well, I think we can reach that. Should we transfer to that now? That was one of our advisory meeting discussions.
Yeah.
Sure. And I did have a follow-up conversation with Kathy Cook because as you probably heard her in the meeting, she said, could you ask your youth commission board to watch the meeting, specifically this part? And so I followed up with her just to say, is there a piece of work that or something, an outcome that you're hoping for from the youth commission? And she said, really that she just wanted you all to be aware of the conversation, but that there's really nothing on our end that we can do. But it sort
Sarah,
of just.
Can you summarize it for anyone who may be watching?
Sure. So one of the items that's outlined in our budget request is for software. Specifically a subscription to Therapy Notes, which is an electronic health record system, an online cloud-based system, which really has long been a need of the department, but became kind of non-negotiable during the pandemic because we had no way of getting consent forms signed by residents who were coming to see us. And so we needed something that had a client portal, so to speak, among many other features. But that was really the most important, because we were mailing things home to people and having them mail them back to us. We were meeting people in parking lots and having them sign forms there. It really just was not an efficient use of time. And so, so with the Municipal Technology Committee's blessing and the IT director's involvement, he and I sat together and we talked to the sales department and the tech support department at Therapy Notes, and he asked his questions, I asked mine. We determined that it met our needs on both ends. And so we came to you, the board, about using some donation account funds for Therapy Notes. And so our request for FY23 includes another subscription to this service, as it's really become sort of a integral part of our operations. And so this part of our request brought up some, not just for us, but brought up some concerns for one of the advisory members, Mr. Martell, about cybersecurity and having third-party involvement with protected health information, making sure that we have full HIPAA compliance in town where we need it, potentially having a compliance officer. So some of those concerns, I think this is something that's been on his mind now for several years, and our request was sort of just another reminder of his concerns about that. So that's essentially that piece of the meeting. So again, there's really nothing that the Youth Commission can do or that our department can do, except for, working in partnership with the IT department on vetting anything that we take on in terms of IT systems and making sure that they meet our cybersecurity requirements and other needs. So,
Do you have anyone, will the IT person pursue that for you, or the municipal, what is the committee that?
Municipal Technology Committee.
Tech Committee, okay.
Yeah,
Can any of those people with the IT background, tech backgrounds help you pursue with Therapy Notes that any compliance stuff that they might have? They do test these things for security, and there should be some kind of documentation whether there has been any issues or so on and so forth. So
yeah. Well, it is a service that is advertised as a HIPAA compliant platform for electronic health records. I wouldn't even know the first thing about sort of the ins and outs of, for example, Mr. Martell had asked a few questions in the meeting that I had no idea how to answer. And I still
thought you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. I was like, I don't know.
I was kind of in the same boat. I'm like, oh, I'll have to ask Gio.
Yeah. So I lost my train of thought, but.
Well, I just thought it might be helpful that maybe you bring in somebody. Are there people from Therapy Notes, like marketing people or sales people or compliance people, that we can talk to or get some kind of validation or verification that they are fully HIPAA compliant?
Yeah, I did have a follow-up conversation with Jay Montijo, the IT director, about the conversation. And he reassured me that, all of the things he would be looking for are in place. In terms of a compliance officer, my impression is that kind of a specialty. In terms of the IT world, there's, there's different specialties within IT, and that's one of them. I do know that he is actively trying to hire another staff member, and that's one of a few criteria that he's looking for. But I think he's having some challenges with finding what he's looking for. So it's something that he's considering. But in terms of what his requirements are, it meets his criteria.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Any other questions on that or comments?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, Sue, was there any kind of a friends report or anything you'd like to bring up?
No, nothing since the last time. Yeah, no, there's nothing.
Okay.
I think
And then
Leslie
we
and I
have
are
down
meeting.
here a 2021 annual report. What was that? What was the annual report?
So every year, each department writes an annual report outlining any accomplishments, highlights, statistics. And so I included for you all our 2021 annual report that I had written up for our department. So it's really just for your review. So
It goes out at town meeting though, right?
it does.
So it's
Yeah,
kind of our brag thing for the year when people are sitting in town meeting and they don't have anything else to do except read the department brag things.
Yep. So let's see. In particular, so I did talk about our strategic plan that we engaged in and the community needs assessment, which I thought were both accomplishments during a pandemic. And I outlined what the outcomes were, that we have a new mission statement and a vision, and that I outlined the 4 main goals that we came up with. I took a slightly different approach this year, and I typically include statistics within a narrative, which is sometimes kind of ends up buried in there. So instead, this year I outlined our services and what they are, and then I put in a little grid at the end of each section with the numbers of residents served to make it a little bit easier to see. And then I, in consultation with staff and thinking about the last year, we actually were asked to do this for the Board of Selectmen meeting that happened in, I believe it was December. Each department was asked to provide highlights from 2021. So I had listed the acquisition of Interface, Coffee Talk, the QPR suicide prevention trainings, the strategic plan and the community needs assessment, and then just generally being able to continue providing services throughout the pandemic, having to shift gears often and quickly and get creative. I've been very proud of our team's ability to be flexible and without any lapse in responsiveness. So, so that's all sort of outlined there for you, as well as, how to get involved with friends if you want to give back, what our office hours are, etc.
I didn't see it, but Paul said today on Southborough's website, there was a nice write-up about the department. And it also, because you explained that you had gone remote again for now, it was a way of kind of also telling the town what it is you guys do. That the counseling had gone remote and you weren't going to be in the schools, and just thought it was another way to kind of highlight what you do. So He said he thought it was excellent. So I don't know who did that or,
Yeah, so I have been trying to do a monthly newsletter that has both a video clip of me talking. I actually, Liz Garden, if you're listening, though you probably all know Dave Garden or have heard of Dave Garden. His wife happens to be my children's school principal. So she does a newsletter for our school community where she has everything written out, but then she also has a video where she outlines everything that's in the newsletter. And I find it to be incredibly helpful because I'm so tired of reading sometimes. And so I just put it on and listen to her. And so modeling after her newsletter, we started doing the same thing. And we've put out 3 newsletters now. So that's probably what you're talking about. We normally try to put it out the first day, the first of the month, but because things were kind of touch and go and we weren't sure what we were doing quite yet, we just put it out on Friday. So
very good.
I had to do it outside in the snow because my children were in the background screaming and I could not find a place to go where you would not hear them. So I stood outside in the snow and recorded the
Yes,
video.
broadcasting from her car.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Any comments on that?
No, I thought it was very well written and informative, the annual report. And if I was sitting in town meeting, I'd definitely read this.
Oh, thank you.
If nothing else, I think that's all we have for today. If I can have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the January 11th, 2022 meeting at 7:52.
Second,
Susan Byer,
Aye.
Sue Butka,
aye.
Beth Dombecker,
Aye.
Marguerite Landry,
Hi.
Sarah Micus,
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie, aye.
Wonderful.
Great to see everybody.
Yes, stay warm. It's 9 degrees out
I
today.
know. It's
Terrible.
brutal.
Terrible.
Take care. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Swim
Bye,
right
guys.
like down
Good night.
this night. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Aye.
Bye.